Namaste Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukasvarupaya Swami Tapaharine Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om. So let us continue with the introduction of this wonderful text, Vivekachudamani, crest jewel of discrimination. In our life also, all our problems and difficulties, sufferings, they're all because of the absence or the abhava of this one quality, Viveka. If you have Viveka, everything else is there in life. You don't need anything else, actually. One quality is enough to sail you through life. That's why, even in the opposite will come in that sadhana chatushthaya. First is Nitya Nitya Vastu Viveka. Whole thing, the essence of life or the importance of life. सब कुछ यही एक गुण आपके पास है तो हो जाए. You don't need anything else. So, but we have everything else except this. Is the problem. So, as we saw last time, the Shishya comes to the Guru. The Vivekachudamani is in the form of a dialogue between the Guru and Shishya. So, Guru to pehle batate hi, you are really Paramatman. Why do you think you are like this? This bondage of samsara is because of your own ajnana, etc., etc. And then the Shishya poses this 7 questions as we saw last time. Ko nama bandha, katamesha agatha, katam pratishthasya, katam vimokshaha, ko so anatma, paramaha ka atma, tayor viveka katametadruchyatam. These 7 questions. What is bondage? How does it arise? How does it continue? How does one release? How is one released from it? What is his anatman? What is his paramatman? How to distinguish between the atman and the anatman. So the entire book consists of the answers to these, and also the Guru tells the disciple of the supreme nature of a Jivan Mukta, etc. So it's a very interesting and extremely important textbook. So we saw the first question the Guru takes up is the 4th one. How it is, how do we get katam vimoksha, how do we get released from this bondage? So because when the house is on fire, you don't go about searching how it got fire. First you must somehow put out the fire so that you escape death. Then we can find out कैसे हुआ, electric short circuit, ना कोई किसी ने आग लगा दिया, कोई दुश्मन. All those inquiries we can do. First thing is how to put out the fire. It is so your life is on fire, burning, so to say, by this bandhana, the bondage of the samsara. The first thing is how to get relieved. The first question. So naturally, the Guru also takes the first question. And then, he says amongst other things, he says, unless there is vairagya, nothing is possible. Samadhana, prati, everything is should be acquired, but vairagya. It is very emphatic that unless you take to sannyasa, it's not possible to get this highest knowledge, because the problem is the essential discussion is how does one reach that highest state, get rid of this bondage or whatever it is. Any action, karma itself means dvaita or duality. Karma means duality. So unless you give up karma, you cannot escape duality. आपके सामने कोई है तब तो आपका कर्म कर सकते हैं ना. Whatever you do, there is a second entity. At least me and my mind. आप मनी मन कुछ करते हैं, then also me and my mind. So it's always any karma, kayik, vachik, manasik, whatever it is, it always, any work implies duality. So that is why the traditional Advaitins always emphasize that one should completely get rid of the idea of duality. For that, one has to give up complete karma. So as long as you are in this world, you are somehow or other involved in karma. So they say completely give up the world, don't perform any action. Not only naimitya karma which are done on special occasions, and not only kamya karmas which are desire based, but no karma, even nitya karma also is to be given up at some stage. But of course, Sangracharya does not say that we should not do the nitya karmas etc. initially, but at some stage, he says that completely you have to give up all karma. The mind should be made fit by acquiring the sama, dhamma, uparati, titiksha, shraddha, samadha, and all these qualities. And then, getting the instructions from the Guru, you must go into solitude and completely meditate, and then only it is possible to get the highest idea. So, the mind should be withdrawn from everything else. First, you see that the one has to develop this Atmecha, to know the Atma. And then, when this desire to know, which is called Vividisha in Sanskrit, which takes a deep root in the mind, then it is time for him to adopt sannyasa, give up all karmas, and engage only in Vedanta. Now, see, actually, there are several questions. Does one really give up karma at all? Even you may not do the nitya karmas, you may not do the naimiti karmas, you will go into a forest. You are sitting, it's a karma. You are breathing, there is karma. You are thinking, you are doing vichara, there is karma, manasik karma, kayik nahi. So in a sense, I don't think anyone can really give up karma that way. Somewhere or other, that's why Gita also condemns karme indriyani samyame yaste manasasman indriyantan vimudha mityachara sauchite. That is different. Those who indulge in mental participation. But in a real sense, it's extremely difficult to reach a state unless one goes into complete nirvikalpa samadhi, where there is cessation of complete vrittis of the mind. No one can completely. But what the acharyas and others they say is, if you withdraw and go into that kind of solitude and do only the Vedanta Vichara etc., slowly the mind is prepared for such a kind of a complete cessation of activities or complete that kind of a nirvikalpa samadhi, and then and only then the mind can really go into that kind of, slowly one can go to that state, and there can be complete cessation of activities, and then knowledge arises in the mind. So that is, of course, logically, theoretically, that looks very, very possible. But actually, maybe 1 in a million, 1 in Sakracharya, 1 in amongst crores of people, maybe one might have such kind of pure desire for that kind of ultimate knowledge. It's very difficult. So this often leads to people who are not really prepared for such a kind of a situation, yet forcefully trying to give up work, trying to say that no, I am not interested in work, I will not do. But that is not going to help anybody. They will only be doing mityachara, because mentally they are fully involved. As in somebody you are not involved in anything, but they will take information about everyone. They are not coming for any function or they are not doing any service yet, but they will gather. यहाँ क्या रहा है, वहाँ क्या हो रहा है, ये क्या कर रहे हैं, महाराज क्या कर रहे हैं. So that's no use. The mind should be really prepared to go into that kind of a solitude, that kind of a complete cessation or nivriti. Otherwise, our sadhana and our goal, there'll be no reality in our sadhana. We'll be only hypocritically pursuing. That is why you see, Thakur himself was always immersed in samadhi. He never went and gave any lecture or upadesham or anything, nor did he participate in any work. He was always in samadhi. But he himself says, yesterday or somewhere we are doing that Katamrita class, he clearly says that through that kind of Nishkam karma also, you can reach the highest goal. So why Swamiji did it? Why Thakur was always immersed in samadhi? Why he did not say that no, it's a nothing. It's a chhod do karam param. Zarurat nahi hai. Do only vichara. Do no. He never said. Why he clearly said that Shiv Gyan se Jeev Shiva. Service of God in man. Looking upon man as veritable manifestation of God. Why did he give it? Of course, it's very difficult to understand. That's why when Swamiji came back and established the Ramakrishna mission, when his own Guru Bhais would not understand, they revolted. Arey, ये सब कहाँ से तुम लिया है? So the Guru Thakur never used to say. He only said, जीवन का एकमात्र उद्देश्य है भगवान. Only goal of life is realization of God. And you are asking about work conditions. That where have you got all? And Swami had to say, how much have you understood of Sri Ramakrishna? His Ananta Bhavamaya. He has told me, and whatever I say, I don't say even a word which he has not told me or which I have not learned from him. Everything, whatever I say, whatever I speak, everything is exactly from Thakur only. So he said, that's why mother also says somewhere, Baba, Jo Naren kiya, Tiki kiya, whatever Narendranath has done, she never used to call him Swami Vivekananda. She always she would call him only Naren. Whatever Naren has done is for the good only. Do you think that 24 hours you can do meditation? Half an hour, 1 hour you might do, rest of the time you will be thinking all kinds of useless things and wasting your time. Better do it in such a way. Actually, Swami himself has given these kind of examples very beautifully. Supposing a thorn is pricked to your foot, what you do? You bring another thorn, equally sharp, take out the thorn which is inside the flesh and throw away both. So all these work, etc., which Swamiji says, Swamiji also never says, till the last day you should be only busy doing something. But Swamiji says, why talk of all that now? When you are in such a bound condition, when you are struggling, there is no need to talk about what will happen when the mind completely becomes still and all that. Now realize where you are and make preparation. Cleanse the mind. पहले साफ करो, चित्त शुद्धि होने दो. Once the mind becomes pure, automatically it will be more and more and more drawn into that kind of a deep contemplation or that kind of a spiritual practice. That's why in the mission when youngsters come, पहले अभी तो बहुत servants हो गए. Whole the courtyard sweep. 2 घंटा 3 घंटा पूरा साफ करना, झाड़ू देना. Why? Because the mind should be occupied. What happens when you do intense work, you will also find normally, when we sit for meditation, it's very difficult to concentrate the mind. But when you are given some work, you are so concentrated. The mind becomes so focused. When you are asked to simply sit quiet, it takes a world tour, the mind. So, the idea is, instead of allowing the mind to go into 1,000 directions, gather the mind, focus on work. And if that work is purely for the sake of others, see, why they are so much against work? Normally, in the olden days, people always used to think work means for one's own benefit. ऐसे कुछ समाज सेवा वगैरह इतना नहीं जानते थे, प्रयोजन भी नहीं था. But normally, work means your own benefit, your own vriddhi, your own samriddhi. all those kinds of becoming wealthier, becoming better, all the efforts for self-improvement. So, it always used to bring ashakti, always used to bring attachment. So that is why they were terribly condemning work, because it leads to attachment, then your ajnana will increase, you will never realize the goal, the ajnana will never go. But Swamiji says, supposing you do like that, you do completely for the sake of others, Nishwartha Seva. What happens? You are fully engaged. The mind becomes concentrated. Instead of roaming in thousand directions and becoming extremely restless, the mind becomes concentrated. It focuses. And then slowly over a period of time, when you are doing so much, uh, in puja also there, Devo Bhutva Deva Mechet. When you do puja, not only we do as human beings, no. The best way of puja is you become a devata yourself, you become a god and worship God. That's the best way. That's why, in the traditional puja mantras, again they will say, here there is so many mantras for so many limbs. What is that? There is an adhishthatri devata in each part of the limb. And when you touch and ucharan, pronounce that mantra, if you are really good, then that will get awakened. So, then the whole body, Raja Maharaj, it seems, I have seen somebody was doing in Kali Puja, Sadhu, when he was doing all the nyasas, when he was touching each part, Raja Maharaj literally saw those deities getting awakened. So, when you do all that awakening, you become another devata, you become purified. And with that pure body and pure mind, you do worship of the divine. Worship of the spirit by the spirit. So that way, when you do such kind of intense, unselfish work, what happens? The mind, all the impurities of the mind start getting cleaned up. So when the mind becomes absolutely pure, in such a mind, anything, any idea, any spiritual idea, any Mahavakya, anything that you put in there, immediately it catches fire like anything. Then you go deep into meditation, etc. And ultimately, that Naishkarmya Avastha, that worklessness state, one might certainly get. Swamiji never says all your life you should do it. But one must prepare with more intensity, so much unselfish work that you are exhausted, you are saturated with it. And our Swamis used to tell us, since the great Madhavan used to ask him, are you doing unselfish work? Yes, Maharaj. आप इतना किया एकदम पूरी तरह थक गए. You've done so much that you're completely exhausted. See, then you will understand what is Karma Yoga, what is that purity of mind, what is that calmness. So the idea is do it more, so that the mind becomes purer. At one point of time, this will automatically drop off. Thakur also says, no, suppose from a palm tree, we just pull that branch, then it is not old enough or ripe enough, or then it always leaves a mark. But when it has become ripe enough, it falls by itself and there is no mark. He also says in a wound, there is something that is healing. If you peel it off with your nails, it bleeds. But when it is fully dry, automatically it falls off. There is no mark. Similarly, Swamiji's idea of Karma Yoga also, we do it in such a way that completely your mind becomes so pure, then it becomes a fit instrument for reflection of the highest. At such a mind, then you dive deep into that. Even Thakur's disciple also, when Swamiji came, it took time. In spite of being such an extraordinary aspirant, being an Ishwara Koti, still Thakur had to mold him. And then slowly he became fit, and at one point of time he experienced the highest significance of Samadhi. So there's no contradiction between what Shankara says and what Swamiji says. Is what Shankara says, you first do it, and then only you become fit. Whereas Swamiji says, don't rush into it. You allow it to come naturally. You keep on doing. He has pointed out a new kind of a safety wall, so to say. Nishkam karma. By which you work hard, work, give so much. There is no attachment, no ashakti coming out of that. And then slowly you also progress in your spiritual life. And that is how your mind will become fit to receive the highest Mahavakyas or truths. Then only the Ajnana will go away. This is the basic difference between what Shankara said traditionally, what Swamiji following Ramakrishna's revelations or spiritual practices or realizations. This is what Swamiji has said. So naturally he has set up a huge organization, and that's how our work is going on. So many of us who participate, we know how much we feel mental elevation, satisfaction when we do something. We take so much trouble, travel, this, that, staying somewhere, eating somewhere, this. Still, at the end of the day, when you do something, there's a joy in the heart you have done. Then we can build on that. When you do such work, it's easier to come back and meditate rather than doing only for oneself and eating and sleeping and coming back and meditating. Much better is to try to do something for others. Then he takes up the next question. Koso anatma. What is this anatman? Because to know the Atman, you must know what is an Atman. Because of this Atman and Atman getting mixed up, that is why we are suffering. So before knowing Atman, first it is better to know what is Anatman, which is far more vast, far more easier to understand, because Anatman all belongs to the level of the senses. It is much easier. Atman is Atindriya Jagatka, so it's more difficult to even comprehend Atman. So the Guru starts with the easier to comprehend what is an Atman. He describes that, and then slowly from that the disciple is taken forward. So normally we talk of three bodies: Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Karma Sharira. Physical body, the subtle body, and the causal body. These are the three. So Guru says that all these, this gross body, a subtle body, a current Sharira, all belong to the level of Atman. That is behind all these three is that Atman or Turiya or the fourth. That is the real Atman. All these are all Anatman. So, but we are familiar only with these three. Most familiar with the Sthula body, a little more familiar with the Sukshma Sharira, and still less familiar with the Karana Sharira. Absolutely, we have no idea of the Atman which is behind all that. So he says there are some of the things by which you can understand what is the nature of this Anatman. First says it is gross, Sthula of its nature. So there will be one or other qualities in all this by which you can say that there is an Atman. So Sthula Sharira is Sthula. Then it is of the nature of, it belongs to somebody. It's my body, my mind, my everything. So, it is not the owner, it is owned. So, this is one. So, that means whatever is owned is subject to modification, change, because today one can have it, today one can throw it off, it can be. So, the owned is never free. Owner has a choice. Owned has no choice. Supposing you buy a chair, you can keep it, you can throw it, you can break it, you can burn it, anything you can, because it has no choice. It's a slave. Owner has the choice. So whatever is owned or possessed is not free. That is why it is Anatman. Because the Anatman, the scriptures have all described, it again say something, it is ever free. Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swabhava, Satchitananda Swarup, Ajaramara, etc., etc. So that which is owned or possessed by somebody cannot be free. So whatever is possessed is an Atman. So mind, it's my mind. Sthula Sharira, my Sthula Sharira. So it's all an Atman. And then what is the third quality of an Atman? It is aggregate, made up of parts. The body, there are so many parts. The mind has so many parts, man, buddhi, chitta, ahankar. All these are all. So whatever has parts is obviously is not homogeneous. It is not one. It is not one without a second. It has no unitary idea at all. It has parts. It's already Dvaita. So anything which has parts is subject to decay and destruction. Is it not? In anything in the world we see anything, car has parts, cycle has parts, this has parts, the body has parts. Whichever has parts is subject to decay and destruction, is anitya. So therefore, that is not Atman, it is anatman. And then it has gunas, qualities. Actually, the real Atman is nirgun nirakar. No qualities, no rupa. Gun bhi nahi hai, roop bhi nahi hai. Whereas, why? What is the problem? Gun is again subtle change. अब अच्छा है तो कल बुरा है. Now it is good, then it is bad, then it is something else. Gunas are not constant. When you are young, you are so wonderful. When you are old, you are so suffering and this and that. So all gunas are something which is constantly changing. Subject, anything that is subject to change is anatman, because Atman is permanent, it is never changing. And then anything that is impure, anatman is impure. Malinata, body, mind, everything there is, impurities are very much there. We know the mind is suddenly good, then it is bad, then there is something else. So that which is, because Atman is Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swava, it is eternally pure. There is nothing impure in it. That is why anything which is impurity is anatman. And then it is not in trikala and is subject to change. Because, see, this body, it is in Jagrat, it is not in Swapna. Only the mind is going about everywhere. The body is not recognized at all. In deep sleep, there is neither body nor mind. Nothing is felt, nothing is realized. So all these, none of these things are in all the Trikala, Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, in these three avasthas. That which is not there in all the kalas, Trikalas, that is anatman. Because Atman is ever abiding. There is nothing, no point of time it is not there. It is ever present. It is eternal, chirantan. So that which is not there in all kala, because there are only three periods. Whether it is Jagna, Swapna, Sushupti, only three. So that which is not there in all the kalas, that is anatman. So because it is not in the kalas, it is subject to modification, changes. Now the body is this way, sometimes it's some other way, now it is good, then it is bad, then यहाँ तकलीफ हो रहा है कहाँ pain हो रहा है घुटन में ये में सही में, constantly it goes on and changes. Now it is good, now it is bad, now there is fever, now there is corona, now there is so much of health, now you run about. So the constant changing. When it is young, it is only like that. अरे मैं कितना देखा था सुंदर बचपन में, अरे सब बुढ़ापन आ गया. It cannot be like that. Can't say the same thing. So the body is constantly. Mind, much worse. Every second it is modified. No, अरे महाराज इतना, अरे दो फालतू है महाराज, क्या बात करते. In 1 second it changes. Every second there are 1,000 changes to the mind. So that which is subject to change or modification is an Atman, because Atman is always permanent, no change, कुछ भी change. And then it is limited by space, time and causation. Desha kala nimitta. It is limited by, because the body, it has limitations by space. It cannot occupy the whole of the room. It can only occupy one chair. Maybe 2 chairs if you are fat, enough, but not more than that. So you are limited by space, then limited by time. You cannot go beyond time. There is a time for everything. Beyond that you cannot do. And then causation. There is also limitation with respect to causation. This much only you can do. You can be the cause of, you cannot be the cause of everything. You have certain. So all these are all kinds of limitations, and whatever is limited by all that, it is anatma. Then says it is drishta nashta svabhava. Sometimes it is seen and sometimes it's not seen. It's very easily by the mind you can see. Now the mind is here, then it is not there, then it is somewhere else. So drishta nashta svabhava. Sometimes it is there. Similarly, even the body is also like that. Suddenly, it vanishes, it goes. You are not able to feel that way. So these are the qualities that make it prove that it is anatma. And then it is a product is produced, kritaka. Because the body is produced, the mind is also growing like that, mind is also produced. So that means what? It is the effect. It's a karya, it's not karan, it's not the cause. So it's something which is produced. Something that is produced is always subject to distraction. जो भी आप बनाया वो तो एक दिन खत्म होगा. Whatever wonderful sweet you may make, but if you keep it for 24 hours, bas, poison ban jate, you can't eat it. So whatever is produced is subject to decay. So the body after some time goes, mind like that. So in all these it is subject to decay, or which is the result of an effect, which is a product, not the cause or the producer. That is again anatma. And then he says it is known and it is not the knower. My body is known by me. My mind, I know my mind. My karmaship. So these are all known. Pata hai. They are objects of knowledge. They are not the knower. जो पहचानता है वो नहीं है. Is not the knower, which is that aham or the atman. These are all that which are known. Therefore, they are anatma. Why? Because the knowledge can always vary. Now I learn like this. Then sometimes I know it differently. I think this is my body is like this, like this. Then he said, no, I thought like that. But now I find I cannot digest this. I cannot take this. I cannot tolerate this. I cannot take milk. I cannot take something. So, the known and it is not the knower. So, whatever is known can always keep changing. And that which changes is anatman. And then it is ruled and it is not the ruler. It is not the karta. It is subject to ruling. Because whatever you want, you can direct your mind, direct your body. Body has no will of its own. We say, no, आज class जाना है. सोना है. Body cannot say, no, I will not do. Just to obey. So, it is always ruled and it is not the ruler. Mind also like that. It tries to go idhar-udhar bhatakta hai. फिर भी it has only a limited freedom as far as it's concerned. Similarly, it is dependent and not completely, totally independent. The body is dependent on so many factors, the mind is dependent on so many factors. So all these he has given 12 reasons to know the anatman. How to find out that which I am trying to understand. Because wherever all these things are there, they are all anatma. So whenever you find all that, you have to eliminate. ये सबको आपको छोड़ना है, निकालना है, त्यागना है. Then you really understand what is the nature of the Atman. So first the Guru tells him about the Anatman, and then that Atman is slowly taught to the disciple. Then he says that which is separated from all these bodies, Sthul, Karan, Sharira, is inmost. It is beyond all these three. And then that the eternal, and it is that what is signified by this aham or I, that is the root of our everything, the witness of the three mental states. Because Jagrat, Sapna, Shushupti, it's all witnessed by this I. I know me, when I'm awake, there in sleep, and then afterwards, deep sleep, at the time you don't feel. But when you wake up, you know that you are aware. Then I slept very well. मैं अच्छा नींद में गया था, बहुत अच्छा लगा मेरा. So that means there is some witness even in sleep that was completely watching over everything. At that time we did not understand, but when you get up you understand. So it is Vibhu, all pervading, and then it is that which illumines everything. It's the nature of illumination, and then it is the inmost of all this other God, Anadi, beginningless, and the nature of Satchit Ananda Swarup. All that he explains to the disciple, all this will come in the slokas. All this, very beautifully the Guru explains to the Sishya. And then, now, after having explained what is this, how to get rid of this bandhana, and what is this anatman, and telling about this atman, then he takes up the first question, what is bondage? Katham ko nama bandha? What is this bondage? Now he's coming to that question. What is that? So he says, bandha is the identification of the atman with the anatman. आत्मन के हम लोग अनात्मन जब समझते हैं उसी से आपका बंधन बन जाता है. That is the time when the bondage really starts occurring. And then, so which are all anatman, we constantly mistake them for the atman. And then the life's quest, all our life we pursue that which is anatman, and we lose track of atman. That is how we are in this deep bondage or bandhan. That is the reason for the bandhan. Now, because the disciple has understood little what is his atman, what is anatman, and then how to get moksha and all that, so now he is able to even understand what is this bandhan. Not only that, katam yesha agataha. How did it come? The second question. It is because the ajnana has two powers. How has this bandhan occurred? They know the whole reason is no doubt ajnana. But this ajnana again has two shaktis, two powers called avarana shakti, that is due to this tamas, it conceals the real nature of the Atman. And vikshepa shakti, or from the rajas component of our personality, this projects non-Atman as the Atman. So there are two. Avarana is that which covers, and vikshepa that which distorts. So they always give this famous Rajju Sarpa example. And this Rajju is mistaken for Sarpa. When the snake, how the rope is taken for snake, first the rope is covered. Avarana, iska ढक दिया. Avarana Shakti is from the tamas element of the personality of Ajnana. Ajnana is tamas component that covers it first. The Rajju is covered so that it is not seen. If you see the Rajju clearly, there cannot be any mistake. But first, they cover the Rajju. Then, what is his vikshepa? It is distorted to appear like snake. Originally, essentially, there is only Rajju. But first it is covered so that its real nature is hidden. And then it is projected as something else, as Sharpa. And that is how this non-Atman is being projected as something else. And then we go behind that. So we are running after that all the time. So in all our experience, again and again, because of the 12 qualities that is described, there are so many anatma vastus. All that are taken for Atman. Because of this, first discovered the swarupa of the Atman, and then it is made to appear as something else. So we go behind that, and that is why we are in this kind of a position. And then Katham vimoksha, again he is going back to that fourth question which he first initially took up. So he says, because of she explains the Pancha koshas in the next detailed explanation. The 5 koshas is Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya. The body and the vitals and the mental sheets and the buddhi and the intellectual, and finally the blissful sheets. All these 5 seats are there. One after that, if you remove, finally that remains is what is Atman. So in this, slowly, partly also answers the 7th question, Tayor Vivekaha Katametu. How to distinguish between the Atman and the Anatman? That's also to some extent he explains. Of course, it is found in throughout the disease. So, the disciple, he has been analyzing himself, even because it's a very good fit disciple. So many qualities were described to disciple. You must do this, you must do that. You should be established in sadhana choscha, then only you can attend all this. Because he's a very good qualified disciple, and he has been analyzing himself the way the Guru was instructing. And then, these koshas, etc., they are all not the real Atman. And then I should separate him from all that. Then suddenly he asked, see, when I think I am different from all the koshas, when I throw away all that, I only see a void. मेरे तो सिर्फ शून्य दिखता है. I don't see anything beyond all that. You say you must give up all the koshas. I am giving up. But I only see the void. So how to, where is that? What is that which is beyond? Then the Guru says that you are that. See, you are the witness, and that which you are imagining to be the void, who are the witness of all this void is the Atman. That which is the void is the Atman, the object plus subject. It has no objective reality, it is only the subject. It is Sakshi, which is there in the Jagrat, which is in the Sapna, which is in Sushupti, in everywhere, and it is a state of consciousness, Chaitanya, which is beyond this. So that is called Turiya or the Chaturtam Manye. Jagrat, Sapna, Sushupti, there are 3. The 4th is the Turiya of the nature of consciousness, which is beyond all this. So it is experienced in the state of Samadhi. So the Guru explains how is the nature of Atman, which is inside every individual, and it is known as then he will take up this Mahavakya to explain Tattvamasi. In that is Tvam Padartha. Tat Padartha, Tvam Padartha. And then the connection. This is how the Tattvamasi is explained. This is the Tvam Padartha. You are that. Because there is a very, very nice story. I think somewhere else, some of you must have heard. See, there was this great king, I think Janaka. So suddenly, he was honored, everything was wonderful. Then suddenly, he was sleeping. Suddenly, he had a terrible dream that somebody came and attacked his kingdom, and he was captured, was taken to a forest, and his hands and feet tied, etc. He's shivering, he's shouting in the dream. As he said, then everybody came and woke him. Kya hua? Where am I? I am in the forest. They have kidnapped me, have taken me away. No, aap yahan hai. You are here only. Then he wakes up. But the dream was so powerful. It was so real. Actually, in your dream, if a tiger comes and attacks you, you really feel it. In dream, it is real. Now when you wake up, you say, Arey, sapna. But in dream, you are shivering, shouting, palpitation, people sweat, everything happens. Huh? And then when you wake up, during the dream, it is so real. And his dream was so powerful, he could never get rid of that. So he was completely in that condition. So everybody is asking, कौन सा सच है? यही सच है ना वही सच है? आप बोल रहे हैं, I'm Janak Raja, I'm sitting here on the throne and this and that, it's okay. But I was also that. But a few moments ago, I was captured, I was taken to the forest, I was tied hand and feet, everything. Whether that is true or this is true, what is true? कौन सा सच? And whoever comes is asking, वो सच्चे है ना ये सच्चे. Everybody thought, अरे तो राजा तो पागल हो गया, become mad. What is he asking? But he was in the path of a great awakening. Tremendous knowledge is going to arise in that person. Because you see, if only we realize, see, day after day we go through this experience. Everything is unreal. We know. Khana, kana, sona, ekarna, pahenna, fighting, possession, money, these, that. All of us, don't we know it's all unreal? We know. Any person, 3 साल बच्चे की भी पूछिए बोल देगी. Everything, in a minute, people can understand. It's so clear, crystal clear, this knowledge. But we don't hold on to that. We forget. Immediately again indulge in something else. Again do something which is anatma. So it goes on, the game goes on. But somehow, something it strikes you very powerfully. That's why some people in their life, something tremendous happens and they are changed once and for all. They are not the same old person anymore. I've told you many stories, shared many experiences of such people. Then the real question. So this Janaka was impossible for anyone to give an answer. What is asked? Yes. Why don't you see? That is also true. Maybe otherwise that was equally true. My being in the forest and depossessed and dethroned. कौन सा सच है? Then this Ashtavakramani came. Ruby said, Maharaja is a very great sage. उनका पूछिए. तो फिर मुनि ये सब थोड़ा बोला वही सच्चे नहीं सच्चे बताइए. बोला राजन वो भी सच्चे नहीं यही भी सच्चे नहीं तुम ही सच्चे. You are the reality. Neither this Swapna is real, nor this Jagrat is real. You are the reality. Then he became an extraordinarily awakened person. Janak Raja Mahateja, Thakur says, one hand he was using the sword, in another he was ruling the kingdom with that supreme detachment. But it required a great Muni. If you and I say nothing will happen. Because Ashtavakra Muni was so established. He was such a guru. The moment he said, Raja, Tumi Sachu, you are the reality. Immediately it came like a flash of lightning in the mind of Janaka. And he realized the truth. So, see, the real truth is not something, कोई rocket science नहीं है, इसके लिए आपका PhD करना जरूरत नहीं है, you don't have to become a doctorate or this or that. आप अनपढ़ा आदमी हो सकते हैं. लाटू महाराज दोस्तों अनपढ़ा आदमी है, but he was a ब्रह्मज्ञानी. So he does not require any education. What is required is a state of mind, whereby you can grasp that and then hold on to it firmly once and for all, never to come back from that. So, we can only pray to Thakurman Swamiji as Haman Dede, so that we also hold on to the truth and realize that I am the reality, not the world, not the Jagrat, not the Swapna, not the Sushupti. This Aham is Atman, is I, that is the ultimate reality. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna.